Chris Williams, Chris Hassel. Two guys named Chris. Presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
Welcome to Two Guys Named Chris. It is Monday, the 12th of June. My name is Chris Williams, joined as always by Chris Hassel. We are in the Channel Seed Studios, presented as always by our friends at Fairway Meat and Grocery. One other quick sponsor hit. I've been absolutely owning our friends at Circa with NASCAR betting this year, Hassel. You got to get in on it. Daddy's
I don't know anything about NASCAR, so how am I going to know what to bet?
Just tail me. That's all you got to do. That's it.
Who'd you get this? I mean, there's guys in racing now that I used to know every single NASCAR driver's name.
Yeah, it's
now it's
world.
Like there's Bernard Lubke out there in front. Of course, Bernard, he's won 5 races this year.
Bernard Lubke. You have a crazy skill of coming up with like random names that are always
not
funny.
As good as Andy Fales. No, nobody's better at coming up with random names than Andy Fales. You were hanging out with him over the weekend, weren't you?
I was, yeah. Spent a lot of time with Fales and Keith and Downs and all those guys. It was good. It was Sean Roberts' wedding. Did you know that Sean Roberts was getting married from KXNO?
I don't know Sean very well, but I did know that he was getting married, yes, because he's bombarded people about it for years.
Yeah, it's been a lot of content.
It seemed like he invited everybody except Van Wink.
Does Van Wink even know Sean Roberts?
I think I've met Sean once. Great guy. I just don't know him very well. But
yeah. Yeah, we were all right there. The picture, if you're watching on the YouTube or Twitter, we were watching the Belmont, that rooting on Luch and the Angel of Empire, who came up.
That picture really struck me.
Why?
Because you look like, compared to everybody else, Andy, Keith, I see Downs, I see Sipker's receding hairline right behind you. You look like you got like a spray tan and you have makeup on. Your skin looks like it doesn't have any blemishes on it whatsoever. It looks perfect. Like, can you zoom in on that Van Wink? He looks like he's been airbrushed. Did you airbrush this picture?
I don't even know who took this picture.
Your skin looks so milky smooth.
Well, it's that time of year. I spend a lot of time outside. I moisturize. The complexion's a little bit better.
I mean, maybe it's
Fresh
because
shave.
you're between a
my
couple 50-somethings, but look at that. Am I wrong, Van Wink?
did someone have the portrait mode on? Maybe that added a little smoothness to you. That's my guess.
Maybe my skin is just that milky soft. Perhaps.
And it's like you look a little bit more tan than everybody else.
I do spend a lot of time outside this time of year. I mean,
But I figured you would always have a hat on.
No, I never wear a hat. No. Because if you're going to do the bald look, you need to get color to it.
Right. And that's what I would do too. But
yeah.
that's why I don't wear hats outside, because I'm afraid of the tan lines.
Correct. I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way. Yeah, no, you got to get a little color to it. If you're going to be a man under the age of 40 trying to rock this look, you got to get a little color to it.
So what kind of sunscreen regimen do you have? Because, I mean, the sun's coming down right on the top of that dome. And if you don't put sunscreen on, you're going to get rocked, right?
I don't wear sunscreen.
What?
Yeah, I don't wear sunscreen.
How? Maybe that's the secret to your milky smooth skin.
I went to my dermatologist.
Yeah?
No, I'm just kidding.
He said,
just mocking you with the hair.
Now,
well, no, I do. Like, honestly, so let's say we're out on the lake on my dad's boat. I'll put sunscreen on my head. Whatever my wife has. I don't know what it is. I put it on my ears.
Did you wear makeup to the wedding, and did you put the makeup on top of your head too?
No and no. That was me about 12 beers deep though. So I'm feeling pretty good. The blood's probably up there in a good spot. Like,
well, you also didn't you and the Murphys? You guys started off the night.
Yeah, we
drinking
pre-gamed.
old fashions.
We pre-gamed, yeah. I got an old fashioned. Murph got a glass of wine.
Yeah, what's up with that? I saw that you sent that picture.
I was like, Keith, what are you trying to do? He's like, oh, it's too early for me to be drinking bourbon. I guess you're gonna drink wine. Like I've known you for 20 years. I've never seen you order a glass of wine.
Is he reinventing himself?
I don't know. He's trying to be like super classy or something. Nah.
I mean, you guys were dressed to the nines. You guys had suits on.
Straight from the wine to the Busch Light. We're at this like nice restaurant in the East Village. It was actually
Murph
quite.
Was drinking Busch Light.
Yeah, he ordered a Busch Light right in there, and I was happy for him. I was proud of him. Tried the Busch Light Peach over the weekend.
Terrible, right? Has to be.
It wasn't terrible. It was better than the apple one. It's just those things are too sugary.
Oh.
When I'm drinking a craft beer, I know I'm drinking like a ton of carbs and stuff. If I'm drinking a light beer, I don't want it to be packed full of sugar. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because it's not like...
And flavored like a peach.
Yeah, it was okay. It was okay. It wasn't bad, but I'm not going to buy it again. Put it that way. Actually, I didn't even buy it. Somebody gave me a can because I wanted to try it before. It wasn't Exile, I can promise you that. All right, let's get into it.
They didn't have any Exile beer at the wedding?
Yeah, I think that they did actually, and I was going to take a picture of it and post like a tweet that Sean Roberts supporting the Swarm on his wedding day, but I didn't want, because the problem is if I did that, that some people would take it seriously.
Oh yeah,
and some people would actually get mad at Sean, and then some people would be like, "Oh, look at this douchebag talking about me. He actually cares about the." I was like, I don't have the energy tonight.
He's a Notre Dame fan, though. He's not even an Iowa or Iowa State fan.
No, he is a Notre Dame fan. In fact, his suit color at his wedding was Notre Dame colors. I gave him props for that.
Really? Now, I apologize if you're starting to hear things in the background. It's not the pool people. It's other maintenance people that are now inside the house. So I'm getting close to getting all this stuff done. This has been a process that has taken just what's going on right now is they're finishing up the bathroom. Okay. We had our bathrooms renovated starting 15 months ago, and it's still not done.
So, is it been usable?
Yes, but the shower door in one of the bathrooms isn't on yet, so there's a shower curtain that's just been hanging there. They're putting on finally the shower door today.
Hey, is your dog snoring?
I told you that's no.
Or is
that's
the renovation guy?
Yes.
See, I'm used to potting with John Miller, and his dog snores the whole time.
All I can hear when I listen to you and John Miller, and John Miller's solo pods is just the liquid in his mouth, the swallowing. It's like what is it? ASMR? Is that what it's called? Where you listen to somebody chewing.
So you got the pool done, and now you got these guys finishing your bathroom.
It's just
why did it take them 15 months? Was it like a supply chain issue? Was it like what?
No, don't even get me started.
Because I would kick those assholes right out of my house.
I can't
if it took them that long.
I just want it to be done.
The worst is when just random people are walking around your house. I hate it. I hate that. So when we had our bathrooms done, though, I had one of my best friends do it, so it was much less of a pain.
Oh, that's nice.
But you feel like you have to. My problem when people are working on my house, I feel like I have to entertain them.
No, I don't feel that way.
See, I do. I'm like, hey, and can I get you a drink?
In fact, I'm the exact opposite. I feel like I need to just get the hell out of their way. I feel like it's an intrusion when I'm around them. when they even see me. I want them to be able to work unencumbered. I don't want to be looking over their shoulder the whole time. Oh, my God. This is going to be a long show if this keeps going on.
Yeah, I just feel like when they're there, like I feel bad, even though I'm paying them. But I feel bad for them, and I feel like I need to like talk to them and keep them entertained. But at the same
Wink,
time,
is there like a setting that I could put my microphone on that will only pick up?
It adds to the charm. It adds to the charm of the show.
I'll just mute you when you're not talking.
Iowa everywhere. Clearly not in a professional studio.
Hey, no, we're in the Channel Seed studio.
We're actually my studio that I've been working on for like 9 months is almost done. We're like 90% done with it now.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, it's going to be really sweet when we get that finalized. Let's go to the Big Ten schedule fallout. Thank God the Big Ten protected Rutgers and Maryland. I don't know what college football would have done without that rivalry. Here, we'll get into Iowa in a minute. I'm going through this, and it's like it's really random how they did it because some schools have like 3 rivals, some schools have 1 rival, whatever. I just thought it was hilarious. Like they protect Rutgers and Maryland, but they will not give Penn State a rival. Like, I mean, come on, Penn State can't play like Michigan every year, or
that's the problem I have with it. I think the Big Ten did a great job with this. What they've done with their schedule, there's not.
Yeah, it's good. They did good. Yeah.
And the way they released it and giving schools the opportunity to protect some, I just feel like it needed to be more uniform. Like maybe cap it at 2. If Iowa's the only one with 3, come on, let's cap it at 2. Get rid of either Nebraska or Minnesota. Don't have Iowa with 3 protected rivals, Penn State with 0, and a ton of other teams with just 1. I don't like that. I feel like that kind of boxes Iowa in a little bit, and maybe that'll be a good thing. Maybe that means Iowa won't see Rutgers and Maryland as much as they would if they only had 1 protected rival. But I think it also means Iowa's not going to see Ohio State and Michigan as much as everybody else. And I want to see that. I want to see Iowa playing the best teams in the conference. I don't want to avoid them. That's one of the things I didn't like about the Big Ten West is that they didn't get to play a lot of these good schools in the East very often. And did you see Scott Docterman put together I think it all started with the Nebraska writer who said that that they were tired of slumming it in the Big Ten West. And
Tom Chattel, he's been there like as long as Randy Peterson's been at the Register.
A Nebraska fan was like, well, if some of these other West teams would have had to play Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. Well, Scott put together a list, I think since 2014, of how many times these Big Ten West schools played the 3 tough teams in the East: Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Nebraska played them 11 times. So did Iowa. So did everybody else except Purdue. Purdue only played those 3 schools a combined 6 times. You want to know why? Because they were the one team that had a protected rival in the other division. They had a protected rivalry against Indiana, so it threw it all out of whack. Everyone else is playing those schools the same number of time, but for some reason Purdue only plays them half the time. And I feel like that might happen with Iowa here, with 3 protected rivals when most other teams have 1 or none. And don't get me wrong, I like the rivalry games. I think that's great and it's unique. I feel like the schedule is already imbalanced enough because there's so many damn teams in the conference. You have 16 teams in the conference. You're only going to play 9 conference games. It's already unbalanced enough, and this adds another layer to it. So that was the only problem that I had with the way they did this, is that they basically allowed teams to pick as many as you want, and they allowed teams to say, oh, we don't want any of them. So Penn State's going to have a lot more variance to their schedule each and every year compared to Iowa.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that there's no perfect way to do this because you're going to make somebody mad, but I mean, we're gonna start going through this in the Big 12 here too. It's just like you can't make these things even, but the variance of 3-0 is just wild to me. Like, come on, we can't give Penn State Nebraska. Like, Nebraska only has one, right? Iowa's their only protected rival.
Mm-hmm.
Let Penn State and Nebraska. That's a good TV product. Two of the newest members of the league. I know Penn State, it's been a while, but all things considered, two big brands. Like, let them duel it out once a year. I don't know. Like, it's just really weird. Like, okay, you know, because Maryland and Rutgers do not have a rival in the Big 12.
No,
Big 10.
they're just
they don't. They just threw that out there.
The odd teams out. The teams that were brought in most recently for TV.
That they would never take in 2023.
Right.
They would never get into the Big 10 in 2023. They're a waste
Correct.
of space. They are bringing down revenue for everybody else. That's the fact. And
I saw a note that we're going to get more in the first 2 years. So we only have the 2 years of the schedule so far when it expands to 16. But we're going to get more games between Rutgers and either UCLA or USC than we will Penn State and Ohio State. That, as Kyle points out, that probably should have been a protected rivalry. But the reason it's not, and you get it, is because Ohio State does not want to have protected rivalries against the two biggest competitors in the Big Ten.
it's the same thing that Saban was saying in the SEC a few months, because they've been going through this, and their protected rivals are going to be like Auburn and LSU and Georgia. Well, okay. Meanwhile, Florida, on the other hand, is probably going to get Tennessee, I would think, and then they're going to get a couple of those SEC East teams, and it creates this level of, you nailed it earlier, Chris, when you said that when you have a league this big, it's never going to be truly even. But I absolutely understand why you can't do that to Ohio State. The same with like Michigan too. Like, what do they have? Michigan State and Ohio State. I mean, I would have liked to seen Penn State and Michigan, right? Like, they've put on some really good shows over the years, but you can't just load them up, and then they're going to piss off your top brands. And it's already uneven enough because in a league like this, you take Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State out of it, and the television ratings drop dramatically. Okay, and
sure.
that's so like, but every
Ohio
league
State
is
the highest rated team
correct.
In the country.
Every league's like that. So the ACC, you've got Clemson and Florida State draw really well. Nobody else draws. In the SEC, you've got 4 teams probably. You got Georgia, Bama. I think Florida draws pretty well. You've got those chunks, and then bam, huge drop off after that. It is like this in every league. It's just more pronounced, I think, in the Big Ten because of some of those moves that they made, and it made sense for Jim Delaney to do it at the time. But by God, we're in a different world. If they could kick Rutgers out, they would do it tomorrow. I promise you. I don't know. It's frustrating.
And it would probably make more if you could kick Rutgers and Maryland out, and then you add Oregon and Washington.
Yeah, make way more sense.
It makes a lot more. Then you get to 16 by doing that. You're already at 16 now, and then if you add these some other schools, then you need to get to 18, 20. I mean, God, it's going to get so big that we're going to be right back at square one when we add the rest of the schools, because then you have to break it up into divisions or pods.
It's funny to me, too, is it reminded me, I was thinking about this weekend as I'm going through like my 15 different apps to watch television on. And, I'm going through and I'm trying to add up like, God damn, how much am I paying for this? Whatever. And we always want like change. We always want different. And I was thinking to myself, what'd be really handy is there was one place where I could just flip through and find all the channels.
Exactly.
And right, and like I was thinking about this with college athletics. It's like, what'd be really nice if you knew the teams that you were playing and you could drive to the locations, and the fans could go to the games, and it'd be really, really nice. Oh yeah, like we used to do it. Because it just
the streaming thing. I've been thinking that a lot lately because I'll be streaming something on. Let's just say it's a game I have to watch on ESPN Plus. How do I can't easily then flip over to a game on CBS.
Yeah, or go watch the golf, or
you got to get out of the app and then open up another app. It becomes so cumbersome that a lot of times I will just leave it on that, and I won't even check in on these other games. I won't even check in on something else, another event, because it's too much of a hassle.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass is what it is. Try doing
Remember
it
we used to you just had that return button on your remote.
Yeah, try watching dirt track racing apps.
Your little Flow Racing with Blake Anderson?
Mm-hmm. Which theirs is by far the best. But then the other big series has its own app, and then they're all charging you, and it's a pain. Back to this Big Ten thing real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of takes. One, this Tom Chattel piece. I've been reading Tom Chattel since I knew how to read. Because we couldn't get Des Moines and Iowa media where I lived. We only got the Omaha World Herald. It was the only way we got sports pre-internet. And I've been reading this guy forever, and so Nebraska drew for the first two schedules: USC, UCLA, Michigan, and Ohio State. So the four big dogs. Although I don't know why everybody's UCLA. I guess like Chip Kelly.
I mean, they were good last year. They're on the up. They're a brand.
They're not like
They're
a powerhouse
sexy,
football program.
But yeah.
And wrote the line that's been tossed around a lot. It beats slumming in the Big Ten West, and then the low-hanging fruit of, well, you guys have sucked, like whatever. I just want to educate fans. Hassel, you're going to get this. A lot of these old-school writers who are obsessed with realignment, and I'm obsessed with realignment too, I'm not. They cheer for change because they want to go – This is the truth. I'll take it to my grave. Barry Trammell was like this with the Oklahoman. Peterson is not like this. He hates realignment because Randy just doesn't want to talk about it. But these guys often, I believe they are cheering for realignment so they can have different towns to travel to and drink at.
Shut
I think
up.
so.
No way.
If you're Tom Chattel, Omaha World Herald, and you traveled all these places, would you rather have road trips at USC and UCLA or West Lafayette and one of your shitty Big Ten West towns? I'm serious.
Lansing.
I truly believe this. I don't think these guys, for the most part, are thinking about like what's good for this. I think they're like, it'd be fun to go on a road trip to. I'd like to go to Columbus. Yeah, it'd be great to go.
Do these guys even travel anymore, though? I mean, this is a newspaper we're talking about. Local TV stations, a lot of them refuse to travel anymore. A lot of newspapers stop traveling. At least, I mean, if we're talking going to L.A. and hotel rooms in L.A., you really think that these newspapers and these local TV places are going to be sending people out there? I don't
think TV will. I bet newspaper will still send one guy. But like, I mean, think about it from the Iowa State stand. Like the Ames Tribune doesn't even exist really anymore. Like that used to be like the Register's big competition. Gannett bought them up, and like I think they have like 5 employees or something. I asked somebody about that the other day. Iowa City Press Citizen's the same way. It's the exact same scenario. I've seen this over the years, and it's like if I'm a Nebraska fan, I mean that's an insane take to have, like that you haven't even been able to, beat Iowa consistently, or really hardly at all. You haven't been able to beat this slum Big Ten West, and we need a harder schedule. It's like that's the only thing I can wrap my mind around why anybody would say that, because they're never going to be good again. I will go on record. They may be okay.
Never going to be good again.
They could be like 9-3. That they will never be in that championship conversation again. I truly, truly believe that.
Well, I don't know that they're ever going to be a national power again, but I wouldn't say that they're never going to be good again. And I actually...
Well, it depends on what your definition of good is. Because we have a definition of good, like 9-3, 10-2 is good. A Nebraska fan, like, you have to be winning a national championship. That's... Or at least it was. I'd love to know how
that's what it was
changed.
20 years ago.
I think
know
Rhule's
that's
a
what
good
they felt
coach.
15 and 10 years ago, but I feel like now they've had to have lowered their expectations a little bit. I get what he was saying. It was one line in an article, but it also happened to be the title of it.
The tweet,
and
too,
man, people just jumped all over it. Saying slumming in the Big Ten West. You were the reason why the Big Ten West is such a slum, and I get that, but that's how I feel as an Iowa fan. I was sick of the Big Ten West. I was sick of that same schedule every year where you know if Wisconsin is a little bit down, there's nobody. It's miserable. Northwestern, Purdue, Minnesota, Nebraska. Give me something else. Like, I was excited to see USC, UCLA, and Ohio State on Iowa's 2024 schedule because I was sick of the slog in the Big Ten West. And one of the reasons why I didn't like that schedule and I didn't like that division is because a lot of the teams, you put your team together to win your division. And a lot of those teams ended up trying to be the same exact team. Ground and pound, low scoring.
That's a good point.
Once we get out of these divisions, I think some of these teams will change that philosophy a little bit because you're not just going to be able to do that against these high-flying teams either out west or in the Big Ten East like Ohio State and Penn State.
You don't think Lincoln Riley's going to try and play like Iowa? Because they're in the Big Ten. No, I get it. You did seem like you got some pushback on your take on the schedule, though. Like, a lot of Iowa fans are like, "Oh, we want to protect Minnesota. It's the Florida Rose Bowl, man." Like,
so yeah, you're talking about what I said. That I thought that because of what the Big Ten did with having most teams with 1 or 0 protected rivals, I don't necessarily love that Iowa has 3 protected rivals. And I said if I could just make the plan myself, I would probably protect Wisconsin and Nebraska and let Minnesota go. And yeah, that fired people up because they're
good for Iowa, though, because, I mean, if you can lock in those 3, like you said, that play somewhat like you, competitively, it's a good thing. Is it more?
Well, I know why Iowa
Probably
wants
not.
it, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
It's good for them. No doubt about that.
But I also put together my top 5 rivals for Iowa, and that got people going because I put Iowa State at the top.
It is their
Iowa
top
State
rival. I don't understand how, you're right. Like, I don't understand how anybody
a lot
could
of
argue
Iowa
that.
fans just will not admit to that. And their excuse right off the top will say, well, it's not a conference game. It's like,
Doesn't
okay,
matter.
I get that. Like, I'm not saying that it at the end of the season it means as much as a game against Wisconsin. But you can't tell me going into that game in early mid-September that game doesn't mean more on the surface than a lot of the other
Are
games
Iowa
you
fans spending the entire offseason bitching at Wisconsin fans on Twitter?
No, that's the thing. And do you live with Wisconsin fans? Do you rub shoulders each and every day with Minnesota fans? No, you're living in the same state. You're driving around. You're seeing all these other people with Iowa State license plates, and like people like my dad just won't admit it. Like, my dad tried to claim that Iowa State isn't a rival. They're not even in the top 5 for Iowa.
That's not a. With all due respect to Don, like, that's not a serious take.
No, but a lot of Iowa fans will say the same thing.
They're in denial that it has become one. It just has. Like, it I remember, I mean, I was an Iowa fan 30 years ago Like, you just laughed off the Iowa State game. I would rather go and watch him play Central Michigan in game 1 because, the Iowa State game was just kind of like whatever. But log on to social media, people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, walk around town. Like, these two schools hate each other.
Go to a sports bar on a Saturday. Go to a tailgate at an Iowa State game. I mean, come on. It's not comparable to when Iowa plays Minnesota or Northwestern or even Wisconsin. Not to me. I'm with you. Like, that's not. You're not being truthful to yourself
The conference
if you really
thing
don't
is
think Iowa and Iowa
stupid.
State's a rivalry.
Like, do you think Clemson fans would be like, yeah, we're a bigger rival with Florida State than we are South Carolina because they're in our conference?
Yeah, I don't know. And a lot of people want to put Minnesota ahead of Wisconsin and Nebraska. And to me, there's a lot of different factors how I would rate a rivalry. The history is one, and Iowa-Minnesota has that. No, there's no question about it. Iowa-Nebraska does not. But I think competitiveness is up there as well. And Iowa-Minnesota has not been competitive for the most part in the last 30 years. I think Iowa's 28-10 against Minnesota since I was born. Pretty much the same record against Iowa State, but 15 straight came in the first 15 years of my life. But it's also passion. Passion is a big part. Dislike, hate. And all three of those things are in the Iowa State rivalry. I just don't see a lot of passion. Like, how often do you see an Iowa and a Minnesota fan get into it?
You don't.
Like, I don't think about Minnesota that much.
Well, then, bring basketball into the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Cyhawk basketball game is like an event for us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get that way when you're playing Wisconsin or Minnesota in basketball? Maybe Wisconsin.
No.
There was some hate there for a while in the Fran teams, but
no, I would say the biggest basketball rivalry is again for Iowa. It's Illinois.
Yeah,
with Iowa State.
Yeah. I don't know if Dino, he's in our comments. I think he's an Iowa fan. He says Iowa respects Wisconsin. I think that was meant to be a dig at Iowa State, and I would say you're kind of proving our point, Dino.
If that's the case, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if that's what Dino's going for, yeah. And Wisconsin to me is Iowa's biggest Big Ten rival in football because Wisconsin has been able to become what Iowa, I think, should be. Wisconsin over the last 30 years, all the Rose Bowls they've went to, they've just been able to do what Iowa does better. Big offensive line, run the football, smash mouth, great defense, but also, have a competent offense most of the time and win big games. I mean, Iowa's done some of that, but not to the level of Wisconsin. When you look at the major things Wisconsin has accomplished in the last 30 years, compare it to what Iowa's done, it's not really that close. So I think the reason why I have that as Iowa's number one Big Ten rival is because, Iowa respects Wisconsin because you're going to have to beat Wisconsin if you're going to have a good season. Because if you don't, you're not catching them.
Lane wants to know who hates Iowa. Everybody.
That's what Minnesota fans chant. That's what Minnesota students chant. And I was blown away when I heard that the first time when I was covering a Iowa-Minnesota game back it was at the Dome in the 2000s. It's like, what? Why are they chanting this before the game? Like, what? They hate Iowa. And I think that's mostly a student thing. I mean, you talk to people who live in Minneapolis. That's, it's a pro town.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
The students might be passionate about the Gophers, but
that's like fifth up there, honestly. Like, I listen to a lot of Minneapolis talk radio because of the Vikings. The Vikings get like 70% of the coverage up there. And then you got some Twins, and you got some hockey, a little bit of Timberwolves, and then the Gophers come in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a channel
It's more of a pro market, obviously, than the other places. And that's another reason why I just don't think it's a huge rivalry. I think
Dino,
it's an awesome trophy. The Floyd of Rosedale, great history. Minnesota used to be a national power. That was generations ago.
Dino chimes back in. He says it's not a dig. The Wisconsin game is the one we want to win the most, and I think that's
fair.
I actually think it's for the most part intellectually dishonest, though. Like
I think it's fair though, because if you at the end of the season, if you go back and you lose to Wisconsin and you lose to Iowa State, which one would you like to flip? I think you'd flip
at the end
Wisconsin.
of the season, sure. What about like the heat of the moment and the emotion?
No, it's Iowa
like
State.
that? Yes.
But I'm telling you, very few people, Iowa fans.
They just won't admit it, but they feel it. They won't admit it.
Yeah. I think some of them don't even feel it. They've lied to themselves for so long. They just...
Bullshit. I don't buy it.
Well, like my dad, I don't buy it from him.
Basis.
I don't buy it from him because I remember as a kid growing up, he talked about Iowa State more than any other opponent that Iowa had. And
Who did?
the first
Hayden?
thing he would say, huh?
You talking about Hayden Fry?
I'm talking about my dad.
Oh, your
my
dad. Okay. Gotcha. I thought you said
he would
Hayden.
talk about
Sorry,
Iowa State.
There's all these things in your background. I can't
I'm
necessarily
sorry.
understand what
God
you're saying.
Damn it. I'm so sorry. But he would just constantly bring up, he's like, do you know what they did back in, what I don't know what year it was, 79. Do you know what those bastards did? They came out of the locker room, and those some bitches were wearing jerseys that said beat Iowa across them. And you know what we did? We kicked their ass. He would bring that up several times a year. There was never anything like that he would say about Minnesota or Wisconsin or Illinois. And this was when Iowa was winning 15 straight games.
He's chiming in. He says 1977.
1977. They had beat Iowa written on their jerseys. And that just pissed him off so much that he talked about it constantly. And he still tries to claim that it's not a rivalry.
Hunt TJ says Wisconsin is to Iowa what Kansas State is to Iowa State. That's a good take. I like that take.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin's a little bit classier, a little bit higher up than Kansas State is.
No, but what it means to their seasons.
Sure. I just feel I would have a tough time coming up with a list of Iowa State's top 5 rivals.
It's Iowa and
it's
Kansas
pretty
State.
easy for me to come up with Iowa rivals.
Yeah,
That beat Iowa jersey, amazing.
It's Iowa 1, and it's Kansas State 2.
And then who?
I mean, you would have put Nebraska on it, but that was one way. Like they didn't.
But Nebraska, would never put Iowa State on there. Now they don't even play.
I mean, you've lost a lot of the history there.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's those two. Trying to think you've had pockets of these teams you don't like. Mm-hmm. Baylor was that way for a while. Campbell and Rule didn't like each other, so those two teams got a little heated. But then you look at some of the old school ones, like Oklahoma State's not a rival. In fact, I think those schools are pretty friendly with one another. Kansas in basketball for sure.
Sure, basketball is different, but and again, that's a one. Kansas, I don't think Kansas would admit to that.
I don't either. They wouldn't, in their minds, lower themselves to that. But I also think we've had enough of those duels in Kansas City and stuff where. Who is Kansas's basketball rival, though, if you put it that way? Because they've been so dominant in the Big 12. You can't say Texas because they haven't been any good.
I bet some fans
Kansas
would say
State.
Kentucky because they play Kentucky a lot.
Kansas basketball is just at a whole other level, so it's hard to really loop them into the conversation. But, yeah, for Iowa State, it's Iowa 1, and then it's Kansas State. And I can't really – they tried to make West Virginia 1. Remember when the Big 12 did that?
No.
They tried to do for a couple years, the Thanksgiving weekend where they made all the rivals, and they put Iowa State. Yeah. This was during the Rhodes era. Iowa State, West Virginia played on Black Friday for 3 or 4 years, I want to say.
Somehow I've blocked that from my memory.
Well, it's because it wasn't like a real rivalry. It was fabricated, and the teams were never really in contention, so it just kind of blended in, with everything else that was going on. Yeah, Iowa State, Trevor points out, it used to be Missouri. Like, that was a real rivalry.
The old telephone.
Yeah, that was a real rivalry, but that's clearly gone. So it's Iowa 1 and it's Kansas State 2. That's it for Iowa State. Can't even think of anything else. Maybe those bastards at Central Florida will pop their eyes, pop up on that.
No, they already decided it's going to be BYU for you guys.
See, like, you can't do that. Like, I get it, like, travel
Farmers
partner.
versus Mormons.
Yeah, you just can't say, they're going to be our rival. We hate them now.
There were some good games, Iowa State, West Virginia. Remember the Geno Smith incident?
Yeah, that was a fight, Wally Burnham got in a fight with Geno Smith. That was interesting. But
things got hot around that time, but I feel like
it just didn't last,
No. And now we got this whole softball, brotherhood with the baseball team, and
I don't feel like angst towards any of those opponents. But yeah, the changing of conferences just screws with it so much, and everybody's fine. Like, Nebraska Colorado used to be an awesome rivalry. That was must see TV. Black
and
Friday.
Nebraska Oklahoma.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Hinterland, Iowa. Get your tickets to the big festival coming up on August 4th through the 6th at hinterlandiowa.com. Bon Iver, Zach Bryan, Maggie Rogers are headlining Hinterland this year. Can't spit it out. This is a cool deal. We got a lot of dads and moms listening. All ages are welcome at Hinterland. They've got a kids corner. It's called Hinter Kids. It's got a shaded, air-conditioned tent full of unique crafts and a special performance by Cuckoo Kangaroo.
Is this someone you're familiar with, Cuckoo Kangaroo?
No, I was wondering if Van Winks was. Have you ever heard of Cuckoo Kangaroo, Matt?
That's a first for me, but it sounds fun for the kids.
Hey, speaking of that, it sounds like a mascot. Did you see Conor McGregor just knock out the Miami Heat mascot?
I read the story that he hurt the Heat mascot. I didn't actually see the video.
Oh, my God. We've got to play the video. We have to find the video. Here,
there
check
it is.
this out.
All right, so he's...
Oh
my. Jesus, he went after him on the ground?
Straight to the emergency room.
What in the hell was he doing? I mean,
What
I know
an
it's
idiot.
Conor McGregor. I get it.
So he knocks him down with a shot
then he
to the
takes
head. And then... See, that's what I hate about the UFC. And I enjoy watching...
This
big
isn't a
UFC
UFC fight. This is a mascot. that
I
they have to
understand, but
drag
he's
off.
a UFC fighter. They knock somebody out, and then the first thing they do is they just jump on top of them and get as many blows to the head as they can.
You got to make sure they're down,
before
Chris.
the ref comes in and breaks.
You got to
it
make
up.
sure they're down. You have to, because they could pop right back up and win the fight. These are trained killers. You've got to make sure he's down.
That poor mascot. I didn't even know the Heat had a mascot. By the way, what's his name? Bernie. And McGregor knocked his hat off.
Yeah, went straight to the emergency room. He was
and what
fine.
was this? What was wrong with him?
What do you mean? What was wrong with him? I think
he
they were
went to
doing
the emergency room. What happened? What are these?
I think a concussion or something.
A concussion?
So, I did read about this a little bit. It was like a bit that they were.
Well,
gonna
yeah, of
do.
course it's a bit, but you.
But I don't
Okay,
think
I
anybody
understand the
anticipated
bit.
Conor hitting him that hard.
Well, and also hitting him after he had been knocked down, too. Come on. This day and age, honestly, it's surprising that this was even allowed to happen. You know how
'cause violence.
scared people are of lawsuits, companies. What does that say, Van Wink?
It says the mascots saw a doctor receive pain medications and was sent home. So
Oh, so he shows up to the emergency room, probably in his costume. I just got punched by Conor McGregor twice. Please save my life. Help me. What do I do? I'm dying. Here's some ibuprofen. Go home. You're fine. He received pain medication and was sent home. Imagine how dumb would you feel if you went to the emergency room and all they gave you was ibuprofen or Advil and sent you out the door.
Pretty dumb. But if I got jacked by Conor McGregor, I'd feel less dumb. He's probably like, oh my God, that actually made contact. It wasn't supposed to. Floor
I bet
him a little bit.
My guess is he was probably okay, but the team forced him to go to the emergency room just to make sure.
English says some poor special events coordinator who probably makes under $30K a year probably got fired for putting that bit together.
Oh, yeah.
Probably right.
Is this good or bad for Conor McGregor's image?
It's great. It's fine. It doesn't do anything to McGregor.
Yeah, this is kind of on par with his image.
He's crazy. Like, he's crazy. This is could you imagine, like, getting in a fight with a guy like that, like a real fight where they wanted to kick your ass at, like, a bar? Like, how horrible that would be. That's different. That's a different breed, man. When they start throwing at you like that, holy mackerel!
He's tiny, though.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he wouldn't knock me out with one punch. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people would be like, "Oh, somebody that small, I could take them."
I want to call out the SEC commissioner for being full of shit. Greg Sankey, all these guys were in Washington, D.C. last week.
They were marching on the Capitol.
Yeah, they're doing all their thing. And good job. There's a lot of good national media there getting quotes. And there was like some panel. And Greg Sankey says, after he's talking about Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, I think the old way would not be to get a microphone saying, I'm going here, I'm going there. Sankey had previous to that been talking about, I thought it was really good, though, Chris, of Greg Sankey, of all people, to stand up and be like, hey, guys, we need to knock it off on the realignment, is what he was saying.
So what's he referring to here? He's saying that Yormark is just out there like talking about all these places he's traveling to try to poach teams? Is that what he's...
I believe so.
So what Sankey is saying is we need to do it. The best way to do it is behind closed doors. Nobody knows what's going on. Cloak and dagger, backstab, lie.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
Stab people in the eyes. Rip their hearts out.
Do what Kevin Warren did when he was commissioner of the Big Ten and go up there and announce this alliance with the ACC and the Pac-12, a handshake deal, while at the very same time already be talking with USC and UCLA to jump to the Big Ten. Just lie. Just be a terrible person.
Just that quote.
That's what Sankey wants.
Yeah. It's just so, let's just lie to everybody instead. That's the better way to do it. It's just the whole, like, Sankey's talking about how we need to, here's the quote. Thank you, Matt. I hope everybody stays where they are. Now, that might be my self-interest, but I welcome everybody to just take a moment and be happy. That's after you just tried to kill off the Big 12. Are you
kidding me?
Yeah, this guy's so full of shit. We need to call him out on it. People need to call this guy out on it. He's a hypocrite. That's a real quote.
After stealing Texas and Oklahoma from the Big 12.
In the dead of night.
All right, guys, we're good now. We're gonna stop taking teams. If you promise, you'll stop taking teams.
My friend Chris, you put this out there as good as anybody. Like, you do not trust any of these people. They will lie to you.
No.
They will stab you in the back. They will cheat on you. They are all liars in this realignment space.
It's sickening.
He's probably talking to Clemson right now.
Yeah.
Making that comment.
Guys,
he's probably texting the athletic director.
I think we're good. I think we're going to stay at 16. If you promise you won't do anything else, let's just not talk to anybody for 10 years. Let's let it be. Hang on, I'm getting another call. Hey, Clemson. Yeah. ACC is off your case. You can leave.
just cracked me up. And speaking of the SEC, so they're only going to do the 8-game schedules.
Which
this
is
is
a
another
joke.
thing. It's just like, you stack your league, right? You go and raid the Big 12 and whatever. It was a business move. I get it. And all you do is just brag about how good you are. And the facts back it up. You got all these guys in the NFL. You win a ton of national championships. I'm not going to argue that. But now, they're at these meetings, and apparently they've been very contentious. Like, to the people, like, the really good reporting from inside, like, it's more contentious than the SEC's ever been. And again, I would point out, this will not last forever, where the top end of these conferences are going to be funneling money down to Vanderbilt. This will not happen forever. At some point, this is going to blow up in their face. Probably not right now. Look what's happening in the ACC, unequal revenue sharing. You're going to start to see that in the Pac-12. I promise you, if that league stays together. There's a lot, like, all of a sudden Georgia and Alabama are looking around being like, well, why in the hell are we paying for Vanderbilt? Why is this a thing? They're the best league. It just means more, but we're not going to play 9 games because it's too hard. That's my takeaway on the SEC.
It sounds like they're doing that to try to get more money out of ESPN for that 9th game. It might only be one more year of this 8-game schedule, but we have to play as many conference games as possible in these huge leagues. You look at a 16-team league with only 8 games and all the possibilities of the ties that you would have. I saw Reddit College Football had a reader put together all of the undefeated ties that are possible in 24 and 25 with the new schedule in the Big Ten. And that's playing 9 games. That's playing one more than the SEC. But with 16 teams and 9 league games, there is a possibility, several, where 3 teams could go unbeaten in conference play, which would mean one of them would lose out on a tiebreaker and not be able to play for a Big Ten championship because you only take 2. And in 2025, there is a scenario where 4 teams could go perfect in conference play, Iowa being one of them. Now, this is not going to happen. I mean, this is far-fetched.
I hope it does.
I do too. But can you imagine? We know that the tiebreakers are going to be a disaster in these 16-team leagues. You're going to have a bunch of teams at 7-2 tied for second, and you're going to have to use some stupid tiebreaker to figure out who can play for the Big Ten championship and the college football playoff. But imagine a world where 3 teams go undefeated in conference play and one of them gets left out of the championship game. That's the world we are going to be living in here with these mega conferences. And that's also,
Chris, why a guy like Nick Saban, and I actually get it, in Ohio State, like, they don't want on these guaranteed rivalry games, like, it's uneven. Like, I know that we're the top dog, and we're already bringing in all this TV revenue for all of you guys slumming in the Big Ten West. We're already funding your athletic departments. Now you're going to make us play the toughest schedule too? Mm-hmm. That's what they're thinking. Not my opinion. It's what they're thinking. And I actually understand it. Like, what's Vanderbilt going to get? South Carolina, Mississippi State.
Right.
Saban's got to play Georgia, Auburn, and LSU every year.
Which is why they don't want to do it. Because that's going to put you at a competitive disadvantage. It's going to be better.
And now
for
you're
TV,
actually having the opposite. Did you read that? It was the same Tom Chattel article out of the Omaha World Herald where Trev Albert's basically saying, like, yeah, we need to dumb down our non-conference schedule. It's too hard now.
And I wanted to bring that up because that scares me as a fan of the Iowa State game. We're playing 9 conference games in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is getting tougher with USC and UCLA and the elimination of the divisions. So Iowa, even though they still do have those built-in 3 rivalry games that are protected, the schedule isn't going to be as soft as it has been the last 10 years. And I worry that we are getting closer to the end of Iowa and Iowa State in the non-conference.
I got to bring up one more topic for you, but before I want to do that, here's your today's Did You Know or Did You Know with Iowa Agriculture, courtesy of our friends
You waited
at
until
Channel
the
Seed.
55-minute mark to get this in from Channel Seed.
We had a lot going on today. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out to a Channel Seed. They're having a golf outing for all their seedsmen in July. I'm going to go out there and speak to them and drink some beers with them. It'll be fun out in Storm Lake. Can't wait. Did you know? So I love pork. Like, I love it. Like, it's my favorite type of meat. I'd take pork over chicken or beef any day.
Really? Pork over beef?
Yeah, gotten to that point. Yeah, it's so much lean. It's so versatile. The beef, once you overcook the beef just a little bit, I love me some pork. Yeah, look at this. So I wrapped bacon around a pork loin and put it on the old Traeger over the weekend. Look at that.
Is that post-cook or pre-cook?
That is post right there.
Why isn't the bacon crispier?
Well, what do you mean, why isn't the bacon crispier? It's fine. It's been in a smoker for like 5 hours. It was perfect.
I will not eat bacon unless it is dark red to black.
What is wrong with you?
I don't like floppy bacon. I'm sorry.
Well, regardless.
I want it extra crispy.
Fascinating.
So when I come over and you do this bacon-wrapped pork loin on your Traeger, I want you to make sure you cook it a little bit more.
It was perfect because you cook the pork. You go to the temperature, man. What you do is you cook pork to 140 degrees, and then you wrap it in foil, and you let it cook within the foil up to the 146 after that. And it's perfect.
146?
Yep, and it's perfect.
You're that exact. Wow.
Yes.
What the hell does this have to do with Channel Seed?
Well, because it's our agriculture fact of the day presented by our friends at Channel Seed, Seedsmanship at Work. Today's pork is 31% leaner than 20 years ago. Did you know that? 31% leaner. On average, every hog sent to market provides 371 servings of meat.
370.
Did you know
Wow.
how many pork chops you think are served at the Iowa State Fair every year?
Oh, my God.
75,000.
So how do they serve pork chops there at the fair? Do they put it on a stick? Do they put it
you
on
can
a
do it
sandwich?
however you want. I've been actually, it was really funny. A few years ago, I was a celebrity pork chop guy.
What is a celebrity pork chop guy? Do you cut up the pig?
No, you flip the pork. It was
On a
me
grill?
and Steve King, the embattled politician. So, like, I'm there. Like, they have, like, multiple celebrity. Ed Wilson just
You
pretty
and
much.
Steve King?
Yeah, and it was really uncomfortable because you had all these people, like, there, like, yelling at him. So all the, like, cattlemen or the pork guys are, like, they loved it. Like, they're like, hey, Steve. You know, they think he's great. And then you have all these people in the background like, fuck you! And, like, and then you had just, like, me there. And I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm just here for the photo op. Like, you know, it was just really bad timing that I got put right next to the most, like, polarizing politician in the history of the state of Iowa.
You've brushed shoulders with a lot of extreme Republicans in your day. Working with Steve Dace, John Narcissus, flipping pork loins with King.
There's a photo somewhere of me and Steve King that somebody took and posted it. It's pretty funny. But I didn't, like, he was fine. He was nice to me, but I didn't, like, talk politics with him either. I was there for Iowa pork. I wasn't trying to, like, cause a scene. You know, like, it was all right. Anyways,
Thursday on Two Guys Named Chris, Chris Williams goes to a gun range with Jody Ernst.
I was with a bunch of mutual friends of ours over the weekend, and one of our friends, he says that I need to bring up crushed Oreos to you.
Oh, okay, so this was Keith Murphy. He's obsessed with this story.
Do you want to tell the story to everybody?
Have you not heard this story yet?
I heard it for the first time on Saturday, but it was not delivered in a way that was.
We haven't discussed this on our show.
No.
Okay. When I was a kid, that's a good story. That's a good start to the story. When I was a kid, lived in a great neighborhood where I had friends on both sides that were around my same age, and we'd hang out all summer long, play derby, trade cards. I'm not going to name names here, but
Oh, come on.
we were probably in 5th or 6th grade, and for whatever reason, one of my friends thought that he needed to prove that he was going through puberty like the rest of us. I don't know why he felt the need to do this. He apparently was not growing any pubic hair yet. So he walked outside with his pants down and glued.
Wait, he just walked outside like his house?
Yeah, yes. We were playing derby in his front yard. He went inside.
So you weren't like in a locker room setting?
He said he had to go to the bathroom. He came out with his pants down, and he was like, "Oh, guys, I don't know how you deal with it, but this pubic hair is driving me crazy." He had crushed up Oreo cookies and glued them to his crotch to make us think that he was growing pubic hair. And my other friend called him out. It's like, "What the hell are you? Those are clearly Oreo cookies that you've glued to your balls." And he said, "No, it's real pubic hair. How do you guys deal with it? It's real." And of course, he's walking around. The Oreo crumbles are falling everywhere onto the pavement. And I swear to you. Now, Keith thinks that either I did this myself or that I made the story up. But I have texted my friend who was with us at the time.
Oh, not the guy who did it?
No. He probably wouldn't admit to it. Oh, so, okay, I text my friend. I pulled up the old, because I told Keith about this. Apparently it was May 19th. And I wanted to get proof to Keith. I said, "Tell me the crushed Oreo story again. My friend Keith says he needs to hear it from someone other than me." So this is Darren. Oh, I wasn't supposed to use names. Darren says, Darren was not the guy that did this. Darren says, "Playing home run derby on Surrey Court in Muscatine, and blank takes a timeout, goes inside, comes back out, and has Oreos rubbed under his armpit and all over his body, including his crotch, to mimic armpit hair and pubes."
So what kind of glue was it? Did you ask?
I don't know. It was probably Elmer's glue.
Like how thoroughly did he crush up the Oreos, I guess, too? I'm just wondering, like, the powder.
He
content.
tried to get it crushed fine. But, I mean...
So there's still, like, chunks with the cream on it?
Well, I don't know if it was the cream from the Oreo or the glue.
Oh.
Or something else, I guess, if it was in his crotch. But what would possess... Like, we weren't out there, like, comparing pubic hair strands.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, why did this
He just did this out of the blue. Like, apparently he could tell that we were in the 5th or 6th grade.
Okay, yeah, so you're at a spot in your life where you're... But that's weird. Like, how did he even know that you guys had it? Because, like,
I don't know.
It's not like you guys were in a locker room, right? Because it gets weird when you get that locker room setting for the first time, right?
There's another story that goes along with this that
Should we save it for Thursday?
Maybe we should.
Throw the hook in there, and then everybody will be joining us back on Thursday.
This story, I think, is even crazier. This next one is even crazier than the crushed Oreos to mimic pubic hair.
Coming up on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you who's got Oreos, Fairway. They probably got the like vanilla ones. Fairway Meat and Grocery now open in the beautiful city of Bondurant.
Mike is asking if the kid had any disabilities. No, he's a smart guy. He grew up. He's successful. Has a family.
Well, so he did hit puberty. That's good.
He did eventually. Yeah. Apparently it wasn't as fast as he wanted it to be. But I think so. I had a mustache by the time I was in third grade, and I think that might have been one of the reasons he was worried about.
See, it's interesting because I was one of those kids who I hit puberty earlier than most of my friends, and I was like embarrassed by it.
I was too.
I didn't
started
want to have
shaving
armpit
in
hair.
fifth grade. I started shaving in fifth grade.
Yeah. I didn't want to have armpit hair. I didn't want to have chest hair. I didn't want any of that stuff because I thought I was different.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
But imagine feeling so bad about not going through puberty yet that you would crush up Oreo cookies and tape them to your crotch or glue them to your crotch and walk outside with that going on and crumbling all over the place.
Then you've got like the dogs are all coming up and sniffing around. Just start licking him. That's a good place to end.
Well, Keith got his wish. I know he's a regular listener to the podcast. He'll enjoy hearing that Gary Barta's lost spine calls it crumble crotch. Maybe that's a thing, crumble crotch.
Thanks for watching. If you guys have been live, man, we had a really good live audience the last few shows. That keeps climbing up, and that makes me happy. Matt Van Winkle and Aiden Wyatt do a great job of producing this train wreck of a masterpiece of a train wreck, whatever we're going to call it. He's Chris Hassel. My name's Chris Williams. We will be back on Thursday here on Iowa Everywhere.